welcome back. Today we're looking at the Amazing Maleeni episode 8 of season 7. Premiering January 6, 2000, the Amazing Maleeni follows Mulder and Scully as they investigate the death of a magician, which definitely sounds like an X-File, and not an excuse for Chris Carter and Frank Spotnitz to watch some card tricks. The episode begins on the Santa Monica Pier, as the Amazing Maleeni, who frankly doesn't look very amazing to me, contemplates all the poor decisions he's made in his life. The love child of Conan O'Brien and Macaulay Culkin informs him that he's up next to perform, though his pay will be cut in half, because ticket sales are sort of in the dump. Can you just change someone's pay on the fly because your business is doing poorly? I mean, Jason Momoa still got paid, and Supergirl was a massive flop.
I aim today not just to entertain, but to educate.
Maybe this is why they can't sell tickets? Just stick to the ball tricks and leave the history lesson to PBS. It seems I'm not alone because this heckler right here yells at Molini and tells him to show him something that isn't nearly 100 years old. I witnessed a 12-year-old girl pull that off in the 70s. But at least when she did it, her damn head didn't fall off. Mulder and Scully are on the case because only the FBI are equipped to handle decapitated magicians.
Neat trick, huh?
I can think of a neater one. How you convinced me to drop everything and get on the first plane to Los Angeles?
Oh, stop. He could tell you the Mothman just stole a bucket of wings from KFC and your ass would be on the next flight out. Scully thinks Molini was murdered, but that's gonna be difficult to prove with an extreme lack of blood. Mulder, on the other hand, believes it's simply a magic trick gone wrong. But even if that were true, there'd still be a ton of blood.
His discarded soda cup. The hand may be quicker than the eye, but it still leaves fingerprints.
Provided they haven't dumped the trash.
Okay, so Scully thinks it was the heckler guy, but like Mulder points out, the trash likely would have been emptied by then. I mean, how long would it take to fly from Washington, D.C. to the Santa Monica Pier? I feel like the garbage at a high-traffic area like that would have been emptied by the time they arrived. The agents find their heckler guy through his fingerprints, and he just so happens to be a magician too. What a coincidence.
His name's not Mulini. That's the name of a real magician. A guy at the turn of the century, Max Mulini. Ever hear of him?
Wasn't this guy just complaining about Molini giving a history lesson, and now here he is doing the exact same thing? Billy tries debunking some of Molini's skills as a magician by twisting his arm completely around, which I don't know if Billy knows this or not, but a head is completely different from an arm. Billy comes off like the kind of magician who corners you at a bar, makes your watch disappear, and then somehow asks for your girlfriend's number. The agents really don't get anywhere with this guy, though I'm not sure stealing their badges is really the best way to get on their good side. Scully performs an autopsy on Molini and discovers his head didn't just fall off, it was carefully sawed off. Not only that, but there are signs of spirit gum. The first time I heard of spirit gum, I thought it was something for ghosts. Look, I'm not saying I'm the smartest guy, okay?
So basically, he died of a heart attack. Somebody crept up behind him, sawed his head off, and then glued it back on all in the space of 30 seconds.
I mean, that's honestly not the craziest explanation I've heard on this show. The weirdest discovery is that Molini may have already been dead for a month. So he's a zombie? Quick, call Frank Black. I think you guys missed one. Billy enters a skeezy bar full of ruffians, but I don't know, these people seem pretty nice. He speaks with a man named Sissy Alvarez, and if I was named Sissy, I'd probably be a low-level crime boss too. I mean, you've got to do something tough to cover for that name. Apparently Molini, aka Herman Pinchbeck, has a bit of debt owed to Sissy.
I'm the guy that made his head fall off.
So he admits to murder. Well, I've heard enough. Book him, Dano. For some reason, he wants to help Sissy get the money he's owed times 10. But the question I have to ask is, where is the X-File in all this? The agents make their way to the Craddock Marine Bank. But don't worry, no explosions at this one.
Look familiar to you, Scully?
He certainly does.
I I don't know. He looks nothing like Jeffrey Dean Morgan. So Herman has a brother named Albert, though it is kind of strange how he has a neck injury. Mulder thinks Albert was the one that performed the trick on the pier, but Albert claims he was in a bad car accident in Mexico.
A bad Mexican car accident in Mexico.
Like his brother, Albert also is a talented magician, though not quite the head turner his brother was. His claims about being in a bad wreck also appear to be true, so Mulder's up shit's creek. The agents go to Billy for help, but I'm not sure allowing someone who is or was a potential suspect to rummage through what is crime scene evidence is the correct way of going about this.
You gotta feed those things, you know?
Why do two FBI agents not react to this man pulling out a gun? The whole endeavor turns out to be a bust. Well, except for this marker that shows Pinchbeck owed $20,000. Meanwhile, an armored cash transport is taking some money from the bank when one of the guards decides to hand over his gun to Albert. Sure, maybe Albert wants to buy a gun, but I don't think you can just hand over yours, no? The amount of paperwork he's gonna have to file now? Immediately after, Sissy shows up and threatens Albert with repaying his brother's debts. I don't know if making threats at a bank, which usually has armed guards, is the smartest play here. Speaking of guards, they hear a noise come from the back of their truck and find a random guy in there.
Get out! Mister, get out!
Somehow the guy disappeared after being shot, but I'm sure it had nothing to do with the fact a magician was just overlooking this guard's gun. The agents question Sissy over the debt Herman owed him, but I don't know why they'd think he's a suspect. He seems like a pretty rational guy. Also, who's this guy watching Mulder and Scully?
Blow your nose. Come on, blow.
Chew.
Ta-da! Look at that.
Amazing!
The great Molini.
And what's the point?
The point is, I completely screwed up this thumbnail. What is this jackass up to now? Sissy threatens Billy because Billy may or may not have removed the marker from Sissy's notepad and left it in the van for the agents to find, thus incriminating Sissy. It's quite the elaborate plan, but Billy gets stopped by the police for having a gun. The same gun from Herman's van. It's almost like the agents probably shouldn't have been working with a guy that has a record for pickpocketing.
It's about misdirection, Mr. Pinchbeck. Or should I say, the amazing Maleeni.
Mulder?
He should just be lucky that there weren't any stairs nearby. Alright, so it turns out Albert is actually Herman. Herman found his brother who had just recently died, so he decided to take on his life. But this means he cut his own brother's head off and used it for a magic trick. Still doesn't explain how he pulled off said trick.
That, and I rather enjoyed the sympathy, especially from the women in our office.
Why does Scully look at Mulder like this is something he'd do too? Scully points out there was an attempted robbery the day prior, and that Herman was the one who signed off on the transport. I mean, that doesn't necessarily mean he's involved, but it doesn't look good. Herman gets thrown in jail, but it's fine, because he's in there with his good buddy Billy. Back at the bank, and they've somehow been wiped clean. Man, a lot of people are going to lose their jobs over this one. One of the transport guards notices on the surveillance camera that Sissy, noted bank robber, just happened to be at the bank the day prior, and strangely enough has the same tattoos as the man that was in the truck. You know, I don't appreciate Billy incriminating such a fine, upstanding citizen as Sissy. What? How could you, Sissy? And after all those times I stuck up for you? Sissy claims it was Billy that set him up, but at this point I don't know what to believe. Herman and Billy are both set free, but Mulder and Scully aren't about to let them off that quick. Basically, it's a whole convoluted series of events that would frame Sissy and allow both of these men to walk free without Herman having to pay off his debts. It goes even further, however, because their real plan was to electronically transfer even more money than what they framed Sissy with by using Mulder's thumbprint and badge ID. But Mulder, being the smart cookie he is, caught on to this fact and confiscated the playing card that had his thumbprint before they could transfer any of the money. Now, if he knows all of this, surely he could charge the men with something, right? I guess it would be hard to prove, but what's stopping them from scamming another bank?
Very nice. How'd you do that?
Magic.
The Amazing Maleeni is a fine episode, but it's missing something that I can't quite put my finger on. Oh, I know! An X-File? Sure, a guy spinning his head around and then said head falling off is weird, but this episode plays out more like a heist movie than it does anything remotely paranormal. Now, I still find it entertaining and it is fun for the most part, but nothing has felt the same since the show has left Vancouver, and this season so far, outside of a few moments here and there, has been really silly overall. As an X-File, there really isn't much more to unpack. The story behind why they made it, however, may be more interesting than the episode itself. The episode began as an idea from Frank Spotnitz. Spotnitz was a big fan of magic and had been wanting to incorporate it into a story since he joined the X-Files writing team in season 2. Now, when he brought this up during their story sessions, to say people weren't excited about it would be an understatement. As co-writer on the episode, John Sheban said, "He had been saying to me for 2 years prior, I want to do a magic episode. He felt in the beginning there was something in magic, in the idea of illusion as an X-File, and whether magic was real or not. Now, magic isn't inherently a bad idea for an X-Files episode, but unfortunately there was no guesswork as to whether the magic was real or not. It was explicitly stated to be the traditional magic one would expect at a child's birthday party." As a third writer on the episode, Vince Gilligan, put it, Frank wanted to do this standalone episode about a magician, but he did not want to have anything even remotely paranormal in it. He wanted it to be totally about magic and illusion. So where does the X-File come in? The funniest part of this whole thing was how angry Vince Gilligan was about the idea. Frank Spotnitz claimed that Vince Gilligan wanted to kill him and wanted to know why he wanted to do a story about magic, because for him the whole thing was pure agony. I feel like that agony comes across on the screen, considering I don't think this is one of Gilligan's better efforts. Spotnitz didn't just want to do an episode about magic, but an episode that also featured his favorite magician, Ricky Jay. Spotnitz was so dead set on having Jay be a part of the episode that he would even include some of Jay's most well-known tricks into the script. As Spotnitz put it, "The key to that show for me was the casting of Ricky Jay, who I'd been a fan of for many years. The problem was getting Ricky Jay to join the show was a magic trick in and of itself." Rick Milliken began by contacting his talent agency, but they were so wishy-washy on whether he'd be available or not. For whatever reason, they didn't really want to give a concrete answer. But after some time of back and forths between both parties, it turned out the agency never even spoke to Jay about the X-Files, because as they put it, he was too busy and too tired. But Spotnitz wasn't the only fan of Jay's, as Chris Carter decided to call him directly. According to Carter, he agreed to come to our offices to talk about the script, and ended up doing some card tricks for us that reduced Frank and I to being 6-year-olds again. Jay would eventually agree to join the show, but on the stipulation that he only performed tricks he normally would. He didn't want to do anything that was outside his wheelhouse. This led to a scrapped trick where Molini was going to toss a playing card right into a bulletin board, which is the kind of trick that would have been better suited for their second choice, had Jay not been able to do it, David Blaine. Blaine had just performed his Buried Alive stunt the year prior, and if Jay couldn't take on the role, the producers were going to try and get Blaine. They also wanted Blaine to play Billy LaBonge, the younger, more charismatic magician. But when Blaine declined and Jay still hadn't said yes, they really started to worry. They would of course get the late Ricky Jay, who passed away in 2018, along with Jonathan Levitt, a talented magician and entertainer in his own right, to play Billy. Both The Amazing Maleeni and Season 2's Humbug would share a few little similarities. For one, both episodes focused on twins, with Herman and Albert in Mulini and Lanny and Leonard in Humbug. Both episodes would feature largely a world that focuses on illusionists and sideshow performers, and both episodes would be largely comedic, though I would say Humbug is much more successful in that regard.
You'd be surprised how many women find my size intriguingly alluring.
Be surprised how many men do as well.
This sort of amusement park take on the episode actually became somewhat distracting for the show's leads, with both Jillian and David having to remind themselves at times they were still dealing with a dead man. Jillian at one point even said, "Because of all the magic, I was constantly being entertained." The difficulty with something like this is you have the tendency to forget that people are still having bad things happen to them. As far as the effects work goes, special effects supervisor John Vulich had just 4 or 5 days to create the realistic looking head for the shoot. This proved to be difficult, as producing something that realistic in such a short time is a pretty hefty task. On top of this, they had to figure out how to make the head fall off the body, which in the end was achieved using a metal plate and a large magnet that was covered up by all the gore. Unfortunately, they didn't spend nearly as much time on the head turn effect, as it's not very good, but it works well enough, I guess.
No.
The Amazing Maleeni sits at a surprising 8.1 on IMDb. It's a fine episode that has some fun moments, but the show really needs to go back to its spookier roots, so for me, it gets a 7. Up next, Mulder and Scully investigate a religious group of snake handlers, and I'm sure Mulder won't make a single inappropriate joke in the episode Signs and Wonders. So what do you think about the Amazing Maleeni? Let me know down below. Anyways, that's all for today. Thank you so much for the support and stay spooky.
Enter the world of illusion,
This will be my greatest show ever.
where every secret,
I think we're being led around by our noses.
every deception
We're dealing with powerful forces at work here.
isn't what it seems.
Mulder, his head was cut off.
Do you look familiar to you, Scully?
The X-Files,
Plot thickens.
all new Sunday at 9, 8 Central on Fox.
Huge thanks to all my channel members. You're the real MVPs of the Spooky Squad. Your support helps keep the lights flickering and the monsters fed. If you'd like to join up and help support the channel, check out the join button below. But no pressure, just watching and liking helps a ton too.